This is the Yongnuo 85mm f1.8 for Sony. So at the beginning, I actually bought the Sony variant of this, which is the Sony 85mm f1.8. So at that time, it was actually pretty good. I actually did a review video about it, talking about why you should buy that instead of the G Master version, until I came upon the Yongnuo 85mm f1.8. So this lens right here has surpassed my expectations in every way possible, because this right here has good value for money, because right now, on Amazon or on B&H, this sells for about $345 US brand new, wherein the Sony 85 comes at around $548, and this is almost half the price of the Sony variant, which makes this excellent value for money. So let's talk about the build quality first. So the build quality of this is rock solid. You're not gonna think that this is a cheap lens. Everything is metal. It even has a metal lens mount, which will make you feel comfortable about leaving this on the camera because it's not plastic based like those old Yongnuo lenses. You're gonna have to baby those a lot more, but this can withstand a beating. So this right here has a 58mm filter thread, which means you don't have to spend so much on filters because it's not so big. And this has a 0.8mm minimum focus distance, which means you're not gonna get any macro shots with this lens, but you're not really buying this for that, right? So one of the main strengths of this lens right here, it has an actual autofocus and manual focus switch right here, and an additional button which you can configure to do multiple sorts of things. Like for example, for my Sony a7 IV, I would use this button to maybe switch it from full frame mode to crop mode, like Super 35 mode. Whereas my other expensive lenses, a little bit more expensive lenses, like my Tamron 70-28, it doesn't even have any buttons, and this is more expensive than this one. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is sharpness. We're not really going to dive into detail when it comes to sharpness. So this lens right here is a very weird lens because Christopher Frost said that this is very sharp at f1.8, but the moment you stop down, like maybe you go from f1.8 to f2 and all the way to f4, it starts to soften up. So this is actually good because you're getting an 85 f1.8 anyway to shoot 1.8, right? You're not going to be shooting f4. So sharpness on this is pretty good at f1.8. So one strength that I have found with this lens is that the autofocus is very accurate and quiet. Let me show you what I mean. So first, let me mount my 15mm f1.8 on my Sony a7 IV, and let me show you how hideous the sound of the autofocus on this is. Pretty loud, huh? That's the sound of the 50mm f1.8 focusing. Let me show you what the 85 sounds like. I don't know if you can hear it because there's nothing to hear. This lens right here is completely silent whenever it's focusing. So if you're trying to avoid being very loud, for example, if you're shooting in a church or something, this lens would probably be a good lens for you because this does not make any noise whenever you're focusing, whereas the 50mm would probably be a bad idea, especially if you pair the noise of this with the actuation of the shutter. You're going to create a lot of noise when using the 50mm. So the autofocus on this is very quiet and very reliable. I have yet to miss focus when it comes to photographing faces. And the last reason why I love the Yongnuo 85mm f1.8 is the aesthetics. So if you are like me, who started photography like many years ago, back in 2012 or 13, I remember using the first Yongnuo lens I've ever used was the Yongnuo 50mm f1.8. That was really plasticky. Like if you held one, it actually felt like a toy, like something you would buy from Toys R Us or something. It actually felt cheap. If you had that lens on a camera, people would think that you're not professional. It doesn't look professional at all. But with this lens, people will not even suspect that this is a Yongnuo lens. This right here looks like a professional lens. It does not compare to the Sony 50mm f1.8. So the differences between these two lenses are pretty significant. Like this one is like plastic, it's really plastic fantastic. Whereas the Yongnuo 85mm f1.8, it's really rock solid. Like everything is metal, except maybe the front element, which is glass. And the focus ring, I think, is part metal or super hard plastic as well. So you're not going to be ashamed walking around with a Yongnuo 85mm f1.8. You're going to proudly use this lens around people, and once you put the lens hood on, it looks a lot more professional, it looks a lot more presentable to clients, and nobody's going to doubt your camera setup. To be honest, I actually really sold my Sony 85mm f1.8 once I realized that Yongnuo reached out to me to partner with me to make a review video for this lens, but they did not pay me to say anything good about this lens. Everything that I said in this video is of my own opinion. That actually goes for all of my review videos. Nobody pays me to say anything good for their products. So that is it for me, guys. If you found this video helpful, please leave a comment down below, or like, or subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.